Howdy folks, Kathy Williams-DeVries here, bringing you a tutorial on further work in the altissimo register. If you've been on my website or my YouTube channel, you might have seen my previous videos on getting the most from the altissimo. And that mainly consisted of playing the note below such as if you're going to play a C sharp, start on the E, lift the finger off, and you can start even the 12th below that. So that you can sort out what needs to be done internally here in order for you to get a really nice altissimo sound that comes out immediately. So that's the first part of it. I've also found this absolutely brilliant little page from the Baermann method. This is from parts 1 and 2. And I will give you the link to that particular page. You don't need to buy the Baermann book. You can get it free online from the Clarinet Institute website. Brilliant website. I will link that at the end of the video, and I'll put that in the information section of the YouTube video. Now this is page 88, number 51, last series of short exercises, and the first 3 lines are looking at little finger work between C and E flat and that sort of thing. So by all means go ahead and practice that, but what I'm more interested in is the rest of it. And it starts with long tones on the higher notes starting from a D. Now, this is the end of the 4th line. That's when all these little exercises start. So I recommend that you start these very slowly, making sure that you're getting a good sound. They go over, because you might be aware that the clarinet has a second break. When I say break, I mean going over the various overtones on the instrument. So your first break is when you go from the throat tones to the clarion. When you go from having very few fingers down to putting a lot of fingers down. That's the first break. The second break is going from the upper clarion into the altissimo. So and you want to get that really, really smooth. And this is why I practice long tones. It's why I practice the abato exercise. And I also have a bindabungan as well that my teacher Brian gave me, which is very good. But these exercises work over your second break. So the first exercise, so you want to get a really smooth transition between the B and the C sharp. And also note that the C sharp, do not put down the E flat key, it will make it too sharp. So that when you do come from the D where you do put down the E flat key, remember to take it off again for the C sharp. So if you look at my fingers, and the next one is a lot like it. Again, working on that transition between the B and the C sharp. note that I do take off the little finger to play the C sharp, because if you don't, I mean, it's almost a quarter tone sharp. So those two exercises are good. Practice them slowly, get the speed up. But it's pointless doing it quickly if you're going to leave the little finger on and if you're not going to get a smooth transition over the break. Now, this next exercise is 4 bars long, very challenging. You're going from the octave below the D. Now, in order to get a smooth transition between the D and the D, instead of just raising the top forefinger, you instead slide it off the hole. And also give more weight to the lower note. So we're going. Now here with the F sharp, you can use the normal F sharp, which is the second finger, but because you need to go back to the D, that results in a hard little cross fingering. What I prefer to do is to use the forked F sharp, because one merely goes from the D to the forked F sharp. Forked F sharp D, and there's no cross fingering required. So and you can repeat that 10, 20, 30 times, gradually getting the speed up. Note, more weight, more air on the lower note, and make sure that you do take the little finger off for the C sharp. And also, you want to get a smooth transition down from the top D to the next note. Just drop the jaw a little, or open the throat a little, and think or. Go from E to or, and you will get that transition. Really good exercise for getting a smooth transition over that second break. So, having practiced that quite a few times, remember, no faster than I'm doing it at the moment. Pointless, because if you're going I'm not getting a really smooth transition. That's pointless. What we want now, we come to a slightly harder section. We're not going over the break anymore. We're looking at the semitones from D to F. Note that an E flat is always the forked fingering. I have seen people do that. I very rarely use that fingering. It's flat. It's not a good fingering. This is a better E flat fingering. So that eventually, very helpful, and the second one is much like it. Note, take that little key, the little pinky key off of the C sharp. Perhaps you could put the banana key on the top F. That is a flat F. On my instrument, I do put the banana key down, but remember to take it off for the E, otherwise you'll get a quarter tone sharp E. in the third bar of this line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th line on the page, we're going over that break again. And you want a smooth transition between the D and the C, especially on the way down. In the next one, we're going from a D to an E, not so hard. Keep the support up the whole time though, and make sure that the E doesn't turn into a top A, because that's the next overtone, and you don't want that. Use some of the top lip to keep it down to an E, and then in the last bar of the line, you can leave the banana key down from the E flat if you wish, to make sure that it's not too flat. We now come to the next line, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going from a G to an E flat. Again, you can just slide that top finger, look at what I'm doing, to get a nice smooth transition. Again, a smooth transition also from the D to the C. The next bar, we're going for an E flat to an E flat. In this case, the best E flat is what I'm fingering, so it's 2, 3, then it's a half hole on the ring finger. You see I'm half holding it, I'm actually holding it up, because otherwise if you go like that without raising it, it's too flat. You can use the long B flat, probably a little bit easier. Actually, I would prefer to use the regular B flat, because we're going to have to go to that half hole again in order to get down to the E flat. In fact, maybe just do the same E flat right the way through the exercise so as not to get confused. You can see the difference. There's quite a difference. Sounds quite flat. That's your true octave. Again, for this next exercise, the third exercise of the line, we're going to need to use that fingering again, because we're going from the C. Now you'll need to use the left hand C, because we are using the right hand pinky key. Now the third E flat can be a regular E flat, although to prevent confusing yourself, you can maybe use the same E flat right the way through the exercise. And much the same in the next exercise. Now, in the next line, we're fiddling around with E flats and C sharps. Remember to take the little pinky key off. And it does recommend to do 20 times, and gradually get the speed up. Same again with the next one. And the next one. smooth transition between the D and the C. And also in the next line we're going down past into the upper clarion, but not terribly hard. So that's no drama. The next few lines are pretty difficult. We're going from a D flat to an E flat, or C sharp to D sharp, whichever one, depending on whether you're doing A flat major or E major. And it's quite difficult. I would only ever use this fingering if I was going incredibly fast. Otherwise, it is finicky having to do this, if you're watching my hands. Remember to take the pinky key off. And also for the next few exercises. Because eventually you really need to take that pinky key off. And for the next one, this is part of A flat major. Now this next little exercise is incredibly difficult. We're looking at D flat major here. We can use the long B flat and the forked G flat. Makes it a bit easier. Which you can understand when you bring it up to speed is quite difficult. And also the next one, doesn't really matter which F sharp you use. And I'd also couple that with the last one on the page, because the rest are slightly different. Which is a direct quote of the E major scale. The other three on the last of the second last line and on the last line, we're wanting really smooth connections over that break. More emphasis, more air on the lower note. Gently slide the top finger off, and make sure you don't flip up to the A. In order to get down to the lower note, go from an E to an OR. That will help. Also, we want really smooth transitions there, E, OR again. And the last one, you will need to use the left hand C, because you are using the pinky finger for the E. Okay, so that's page 88 of the Baermann. I will provide you a link to the page. I hope that's been of some assistance. There's a heap more in the close which I will get stuck to, but I just thought I'd introduce you to some really handy altissimo exercises to get you working with the fiddly altissimo register and nasty C sharps to D sharps. So thanks for listening. Bye for now.